Hello, and welcome to another week. What are we on, week 6?
I think so.
Week 6. Welcome back, and we'll go over the matchups from last week. How'd your matchup last week go, CT?
Not how I wanted, but how I picked my matchup correctly.
Well, that's good because you pick against yourself every week. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I
So
had a pretty terrible week too. So,
let's go. Let's take a look real quick. So here are last week's matchups. We were talking a little bit getting ready for this, and it's crazy how many matchups came down to the wire on Monday night, isn't it?
mm-hmm.
So just to highlight, I needed 44 points from Mahomes to beat Scales, and this is with Scales getting 0 points from his quarterback, mind you. That's just been my luck this year that he'd still score 121. Um, but Mahomes attempted a pass late in the game that would have been caught, or if it would have been caught, would have given me the win. I needed 8 yards to tie. Mahomes would have gone to 300 yards and gotten the bonus, but that came down to the wire. Going down to RO versus Taylor, he had Devontae Adams catch a couple touchdowns and go for over 100 on Monday night, which ended up giving him the win. Wes
Yeah.
had Kelsey score 4 touchdowns,
Yeah.
so made that close.
Yeah, Schmeat probably thought there was no way, and then I think did he start Jacobs too? So it was a combo of
Yeah.
Jacobs and Kelsey, like that made it a game. And Wes got the I don't know, what did we call it last year? We called it something, but second highest points and still get the loss. That was Wes.
Yeah, that was Wes.
Ah,
So, and Mays he got 0 points from Pacheco and
mhm.
1 point from the Kansas City defense. He otherwise would have beat an underperforming team in Bryson's team.
Mhm.
And then you had Clyde get stopped at the one twice,
Twice.
which I'm happy about because it gave me some more points and gave me a fighting chance. But
Well, one of those,
yeah.
no, they were both passing touchdowns.
Oh, were they both?
Yeah, they were both passes. So you should have rooted for me, but you didn't, of course.
Well, I rooted for you. As long as the Chiefs win, I'm happy.
Yeah,
So
I was so happy because I thought if CEH can just get a touchdown, I'll have a really good chance of beating Nels just because Derek Carr earlier in that game and the way they're running the ball. He passed it to CEH, he had it, and he like kind of fell back into the end zone, and they called it a touchdown on the field, but they reviewed it and his like butt was down and he was contacted at the one, and then another play they threw it out to him in the flank and had a screen set up and he got all the way down to the pylon and just didn't get the ball over the pylon, and so the next play was to Kelsey. So Kelsey took both my touchdowns, and it didn't really work out for Wes or I. So
man,
in the end, but
well,
yeah, really the only boring game was we didn't even really look at Jack versus CB, but it was the biggest blowout, and everybody else had something going on Monday night, and um, poor CB's team. I think we had high expectations from him, and he had the lowest points. I think Higgins thinking he was going to play or whatever, and then he ended up really not playing much that game. I think really hurt, but Burrow was kind of stifled on Sunday Night Football. I think he only threw one touchdown pass, so um, he'll probably unload all his points on me this week. So this should be fun.
yeah, it's always it's interesting. 6 teams scored over 100, but they all happened to play each other.
Yeah.
So 3 teams that should have got wins ended up with losses. So um, one thing I want to do real quick, Jerry, I want to look at the standings. Anything that sticks out to you? We're 5 games in. Um, I'm just curious if any big surprises so far.
Well, I think Bryson may go into the stats later, but Mays' team being 3-2 and is this is probably one of the best starts he's had in a long time, and he really should be 4-1, which he probably would have been thrilled with, but only scoring 379 points. I mean, he's well below who's the second lowest, 425. I mean, Yeah, that's like 45 points lower than the second lowest guy, and he's got 3 wins. So that's a big surprise. I think Jack is a big surprise. When we looked at his team, we thought he had 2 great running backs. We thought, he had one of the top quarterbacks, and Herbert, and Gibson has kind of fallen off, and then Montgomery just can't really do much in the Chicago offense. Herbert's been okay. Jack's team is not really performing as high as I thought it would, and he has a ton of points against. I think what is that, the second highest behind you? No, third. There's a 527. Um, Same with Taylor. I think Taylor's team is good, just really unlucky. 527 against. He's obviously putting up points. 490 is pretty respectable through 5 weeks. That's almost 100 points a week. So those are some teams that I thought would do better that are bad luck, and then I picked West to be one of the worst teams, and Jacobs has been a huge surprise, and Kelsey is far and away the best tight end, and he has both of those guys. And if he could have just got a quarterback, earlier in the season, because Russ has not been very good. West's team is a big surprise.
Yeah, I agree. I think I thought West would be mediocre and maybe towards the lower tier, and Sanders has also been good for him. I don't know if you mentioned him a minute ago.
He's been off and on. I think overall Sanders is having a good season, but in head to head, he's been like 1 week great, 1 week bad, one great. It hasn't been very consistent.
Yeah, and then me, I'm averaging 119 points a week, and my opponents are averaging 117 points a week. And I'm 2-3. So it's been frustrating. So
I don't think you should be worried though with the way, and they're gonna hate me for saying this, but with the way like Nelson's team doesn't look that great. I know this is a bye week, so some people are missing some of their top guys, but like this week, Nelson's team doesn't look that great, and then RO's team doesn't, and Jack's been underperforming. As long as you get in the playoffs, I think you got a team that can go the distance. So you're right there. You've been very unlucky, but you're right there to make the playoffs. And as long as you make the playoffs, anything can happen. Of course, you would love the first round bye where you only have to win one matchup, but as long as you make the playoffs, anything can happen. And
that's true. The other thing I want to highlight is congratulations, Mays, on making your first and only move of the year this year. So I hope Benjamin has a big week for you.
Dropped half his budget on him.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, let's get into next week's matchups. Do you have any rhyme or reason you want to start with anyone?
We always start with first place, so let's go with Wes.
All right, the Stable of Stars.
Still don't really get his team name, and I think you should leave, but maybe I need to rewatch that sketch.
Oh, pretty. Thank you.
All right, so RO got off to a god-awful start with Wentz. I didn't watch any of the game. I knew it was going to be a pretty miserable game, but everyone kind of said that it was. I was watching hockey instead. So not a great start from Wentz, but he does have Kupp against Carolina, Lockett against Arizona. Lockett has really been consistent the last 3 or 4 weeks, getting a bunch of targets, getting a bunch of yards. Cook versus Miami. I think Miami's run defense is actually supposed to be pretty good, so that might be kind of a tougher matchup for him. And he's splitting a lot of time with Madison. He's splitting a lot more time this year than last year. Mostert is the guy in Miami, so I feel like that's still a pretty good play. And then the Los Angeles defense against Denver. Denver's not a great offense, but the Los Angeles defense is pretty bad. Plus, he's got Gordon going against his own defense, so those aren't usually fun matchups. If they get to the one and score, you get points in one way, but then you lose points for your defense. So, Rodgers versus the Jets looks like a juicy matchup, but I haven't seen Rodgers play, but from what I've kind of seen is that he's just not trusting these receivers and he's not throwing it deep. like he would with Adams. So he's just not really slinging the ball around like he used to. It's a lot of check downs, a lot of shorter throws. But I hope it works out for Wes. He's finally sitting Russ and he's playing Rodgers. Marquise Brown should do great against Seattle. Their defense is a sieve. So only got 5 from Scary Terry when Wentz was so terrible. So that actually, I didn't even notice that, but that kind of negated any points that Wentz was going to get. Everyone's saying buy high on Breece Hall, and he's got him. So hopefully he has another big game. He almost had 200 yards and like 3 touchdowns last game. So hopefully he can keep that momentum up. Sanders has a tough matchup against the Dallas front. Kelsey and Buffalo, that should be a shootout. And then I think Thielen has like 7 targets his last like 4 or 5 games. So I feel like that's a pretty good flex spot for Wes. I'm going to go Wes in this one. I probably was going to anyway before the quarterback that RO had. I just like Wes's team a lot better.
Yeah, so I think a couple things I'll highlight. One, I think you can bank on 20 points from Aaron Rodgers. No, I just thought this was funny, but he scored exactly 20 points 4 weeks in a row. But I think, Marquise Brown is in for a big game. Breece is establishing himself as the guy in New York, and right. Kelsey has historically performed well against Buffalo whenever the Kansas City and Buffalo have teamed up. Over on the other side, Lockett's dealing with a hamstring injury that popped up yesterday in practice. So, and I mean, you can see there's a lot of question marks over here on RO's team. So if guys are playing through injuries, they may not be as effective as otherwise. And so because of that, and because of the lack of quarterback production that RO had last night, I'm going to pick Wes in this one as well.
Yeah, sorry, RO. I kind of hope RO wins because he needs a quarterback. Then maybe I can get some more desperation from him because I have 2 pretty good quarterbacks. But if he loses, he may be out of it. I'm not sure. I hope not. I hope everyone keeps playing, but it is kind of hard to crawl out of a 2-4 hole. But we just saw the standings last segment. Like the standings are packed. There's a few 4-1 teams. Everyone else is 3-2, 2-3. So I still don't think he's out of it, but definitely a bad Thursday night start. And I do think Wes has the pieces to beat him this week. So I'm sure Wes will love hearing that. I actually picked him this week after 6 weeks?
5 weeks going the other way.
Yeah, 5. This is the 6th week, I think.
Yeah. All right. Well, next we'll go to second place. So me versus Shmee. Shmee is in second. I'm not. All right. So what do you see here, Jerry?
You guys are both going to be tuned. You guys are both, diehard fans with. You have Mahomes. He has Allen. He's part of Bills Mafia. Shmee will probably jump off of a table or smash a table for this game at his house because it's such a big game. Whoever wins this is prime for, AFC number 1 seed. So can't underestimate how huge this game is. And you have Mahomes and Pittman. I don't know. I don't really like Pittman that much. Matt Ryan throwing it to him, but we'll see how he does. Pickens, I think, should get more than 5 points. I think Pickett is going to be throwing it all game. They'll probably be behind in that game, and he's kind of had a good rapport with Pickens so far. So I think 5's a little low for those projected points. And then you got Barkley, who's playing through a shoulder injury. He's a stud. And then CMC with PJ Walker. I don't know. I definitely wouldn't start any Carolina receivers, but CMC may get 10 catches for 100 yards just because I think PJ Walker is just going to check it down. I mean, that's a horrific matchup. You need Sam Darnold back ASAP. Everett, you had last week, who I thought was going to share the target shares with Mike Williams and Josh Palmer, but Did he get hurt or he just got
He
no
put up a
targets?
he put up a dud. He only had 3 targets.
Denver is missing a lot of their defensive guys, but man, that doesn't bode well. I don't know how he's going to perform. I mean, he put up nothing last week. And then Michael Thomas has been battling through injuries. I think Olave is the new number one in New Orleans, but he could still maybe help you. And then on the other side, you got Josh Allen, who we've talked about offline. What he's going to put up at least 50. So you're already in a hole. He's got 2 T Hills, so that's fun. I don't think Tyreek's going to do that well with Skylar Thompson. I think they're going to try and focus on running the ball and not giving Minnesota the ball. So I think they're going to run it a lot, and Tyreek may get some short, like 5-yard routes, but he's not going to get bombs like he was with Tua, with Skylar Thompson playing. So I wouldn't worry too much about a huge yardage game from T Hill. He may get a lot of catches and may get like a touchdown within the 5, but I definitely don't think he's hitting his bonus. Eckler has been showing out lately. Harris is going the opposite direction. Those 2 running backs couldn't be more polarized right now. Eckler's been having amazing games. People are starting to say sit Harris, and this is a terrible matchup against Tampa Bay. If New Orleans continues to use Taysom Hill, I think that may be the difference in this matchup, just because I don't know what Everett's going to do. And if Taysom Hill gets every goal line snap and runs it like he did last week, I mean, he's going to do well over that 5 projected. So Duvernay is a good flex spot. I think Bateman's out. So, man, this is tough. I don't know who I'd pick. You go. Maybe you'll convince me.
Yeah, well, so looking at Shmi's team, I mean, I think I'm getting a little lucky because, like you mentioned, Tyreek's going to have Skylar Thompson throw the ball to him, and Najee Harris has got a real tough matchup against Tampa Bay. But on the other side of the coin, Eckler has just been balling out the last couple of weeks, and I think you said that Denver's missing some key defenders, and so if that's the case, I wouldn't be surprised to see him have another big game. And then Josh Allen is probably going to throw for 400 yards and 4 touchdowns against Kansas City, so I won't be surprised if he has a 40 or 50-point game. So it's going to be a lot to overcome. I mean, on my side, I think Mahomes, we'll see how they do against Buffalo without Tyreek Hill. I'm very interested as a Chiefs fan just to see how the offense is able to respond and if they can move the ball against a good pass defense. I otherwise have tough matchups across the board. Michael Thomas may not play. He hasn't practiced the last 2 days, and I'm waiting for today's practice report to come out. And I don't have a whole lot of bench options except for maybe starting Smith-Schuster. So
Could help with your double up, but man, he has looked so clumsy.
Yeah,
lately.
he has, and they haven't been targeting him in the red zone, and so. Anyways, I think the Allen and Eckler combo is going to be too much to overcome. I do think Mahomes and Barkley could have big games. I think Pickens could surprise, and McCaffrey could be the focal point against the Rams. And to that point, anyone's going to be an upgrade on what Baker Mayfield has been so far this year. He's been terrible. So
I don't know if PJ Walker is.
PJ, they've historically performed well when PJ Walker has come in and played, and so.
I don't think you've looked at his stats. He has like 2 touchdowns and 8 interceptions.
Well, I don't know what you're talking about, but is that true?
Yeah, I'll look it up. You keep going, but I'll look up his stats.
You look up his stats, but anyways, Baker's been so bad. I would assume anyone would be an upgrade. Colt McCoy would be an upgrade. Okay.
Probably, yeah. I'd rather have Colt McCoy than these 2.
Chase Daniel, the booger picker himself, would be an upgrade over Baker Mayfield. So
I typed in PJ Walker and it didn't find anybody, and that's because it has to be P.J. Walker. Like fuck, stupid Yahoo.
Yeah.
I was about to drop an F-bomb, but I forgot your daughter's there.
Oh yeah, please don't. So
his career He's a 57% completion percentage and 2 touchdowns to 8 interceptions.
Wow. Okay.
So that if you
you either guessed really good or you've looked that up recently.
I've looked that up because I have to see if I'm going to start DJ Moore, and I'm like, well, this guy does. There's no way.
Okay.
He's
Well,
had 90 in 2020. He started 4 games, had 92 passing yards per game. In 2021, he played 5 games and had 72 yards per
oh
per
wow.
game
Well, all
to
right.
go with 8
McCaffrey's
interceptions.
McCaffrey is gonna have a bad game. So I'm picking Shmi.
Dang it! I think this is such a close matchup either way. Like I keep going back and forth in my head. I'm gonna go Shmi as well.
Okay.
Sorry, I think Taysom Hill and Eckler and then even Dobbs, who we didn't really talk about, it's a very even game. This is going to be a huge matchup because it could send you to 2-4.
Yeah.
Ouch.
He's
But
catching
I'm
me
still
with,
not worried about your team.
he's catching me with Henry on a bye. So that is, a little bit of piece of good luck. But yeah. So all right. Well, we're picking both 4-1 teams to move to 5-1. So that stinks. Let's see. So next we'll go to third. Hey, that's you
That's me.
against
3v4.
fourth place CB. All right. So Jerry, looking at yours, let's look at CB's squad first. So Joe Burrow against New Orleans. T. Higgins is questionable.
He practiced today though.
Okay. Olave, is he cleared concussion protocol?
I don't think so, but everything I've read is that he's I don't know. Who knows with the concussions? I mean, Dylan Gabriel was warming up and then he obviously didn't play, so I
Yeah.
think
So
Higgins will play. I don't think Olave will though, which would help me. But anyway,
okay, so Olave is questionable against a Cincinnati defense that has allowed the fifth fewest fantasy points to the wide receiver position. Um, Aaron Jones gets a tissue soft matchup against the Jets. Singletary will probably catch a lot of passes coming out of the backfield against Kansas City. And Evans has another tissue soft matchup against Pittsburgh. So the most fantasy points to the wide receiver position.
mm-hmm.
So he's got, Jones and Evans have some good matchups. Going over to
Mm-hmm.
your side, Lamar has a decent matchup against the Giants. I guess he's matchup proof, really. Godwin's got a good matchup against Pittsburgh.
Right.
Jacoby's got a decent matchup against Cleveland. New Orleans has a good run defense. New England, I think, has a good run defense. So
Yeah.
Chubb's in for it.
My tight end is questionable. He's got Higbee, who will definitely catch a few passes, and then I have DJ Moore in there now, but I'm gonna wait till Sunday to see who's out. Maybe I can put someone on my IR and pick up somebody for my flex because I don't think I can play DJ with DJ Walker at quarterback.
Man, this is I think this is a tough one. Since he has been just off this year, kind of that Super Bowl loser, their offense just hasn't looked like it felt like it's clicked.
And going to the it's not called the Superdome anymore, but that's not going to be an easy place to play.
No. That being said, I think and Olave might not play, but I think he has some good matchups in Jones and Evans and Singletary. On your side, Lamar can ball out any week. Godwin, I think, is going to catch 10 passes. Although they could go into run mode if they get up early. Jerry, I'm going to go with you. I just think the Mixon, Chubb, Lamar is too much to overcome. But I think this is going to be a close one. And
right. I just thought about it like Burrow playing in New Orleans. That's where LSU. That's where he played. So he a lot of fans could be going for him. I don't know if that
Yeah.
really makes any difference. Olave is the key. If he has Olave, I definitely think CB it's going to be close. If he doesn't, who's on his bench that he could do for flex?
Yeah, he can move Evans. He
I'm
has
kind of
Daryl.
surprised he didn't play Samuel, but
He has Daryl Henderson is the only guy he could flex in.
that's not great. So,
So yeah, yeah,
um,
Josh. I just think Lamar is going to be too much. I do. So
I hope
something looks
so.
off in Cincy. But if he does get the double dip from Burrow to Higgins, and then Jones and Evans ball out, I could see him. I could see him knocking you off too.
Yeah. I don't. The 87 is suspect. I definitely think, yeah, if you get the double up from Burrow and Higbee, and then if Mike Evans gets, the touchdowns and the passes, and Godwin is who they cover, or doesn't get very many passes, I mean that's definitely going to flip his way. Um, I'm worried about Mixon. I think the New Orleans front is very tough, and he's been kind of having a tough time um, getting it going. So hopefully he breaks out of it, but I don't know. This is going to be a close matchup. I would love to win to put me at 4-2, but if I lose, I'll be 500. Um,
Well, you're not going to lose, Jerry. I'm picking you. So
I think I'm going to pick. I'll pick CB. I just have more faith in his receivers of Higgins and Evans than mine of Godwin, Myers, and then I'm gonna have to play flex. Plus my tight end, Fryermuth may not play, so I think I have more question marks. But we'll see.
okay, all right. So you're going CB. All right. So now that fifth place is Bryson versus Scales.
I swore these guys have already played. Maybe not.
They haven't. What do you got here, Jerry?
The quarterback matchup is we saw the pinnacle of quarterback matchups in you versus me, and then here we have Gino versus Jimmy Garoppolo. Which I mean, Gino's been playing very well, and he's got a great matchup against Arizona. So usually you at the beginning of the season you would have said, Gino, this is awful. I can't believe Bryson's playing him, but this may be a great place to start him. Waddle with Skylar Thompson throwing to him, I don't expect much. Like I think that 10 points is probably high. Diggs against Kansas City, I think that 13 points is way too low. They have such a good chemistry that I think if the Bills are down, I think he's going to throw it up to Diggs a lot. If the Bills are up, he's definitely going to be his safety blanket because he catches everything. I think that 13 is too low. Um, You traded him, Dylan. I haven't been watching Dylan very much. I've been kind of hurt. I've heard he's been pretty disappointing lately. I guess he had 8 points 2 weeks ago, but that's not great from your starting running back. Uh, is that his like starting running back going forward, or is it just a bye week
Let's see here.
thing?
He's got
He's got
Dobbins.
Akers.
He's got
I'd,
Akers,
I'd play Akers over Dylan, but
especially against
or
Carolina.
Dobbins. Anyway,
Yeah.
I wouldn't play Dylan, but Elliott versus the front of Philly is going to be really tough. He's been splitting a lot of time with Pollard. Dallas Goedert has been really turning it on lately, so I think Goddard is Goddard is a great tight end to have. Metcalf he's trying to double up with Geno. That would be great if Bryson's really praying that Geno doesn't hit Lockett or Disley. So that could be huge. And then the Philly defense against a backup quarterback in Cooper Rush, I think that game's going to be a for sure under, and the Philly defense should get some points. I would not start the Buffalo defense this week, right? I've heard on some podcasts like keep them, but don't start them, right?
I don't know. Without Tyreek, it's going to be interesting to see how Kansas City tries to attack Buffalo D. They are without a couple of key players in Micah Hyde and Jordan Poyer, so maybe that maybe that does impact it, but I don't think it's a bad play. I mean, and he may not have another option, so let me
I
bench.
I think any other option would be better.
He doesn't have another option, so I don't know.
At least he got a quarterback to play in Jimmy, but I don't know how he's going to do it against Atlanta. I think he's going to have to rely more on JWJ to get into the end zone. He's going all San Francisco here. He's got the quarterback, their top receiver, and their running back. So if San Fran has a bad game against Atlanta, who I think Atlanta's defense has actually played a lot better than last year's. I think last year's they were horrific, but I think they've been keeping it close. I know from a betting standpoint, Atlanta is covered in every game, so that means they're keeping it close. So with that, yeah, and then wow, he's got Diggs versus Davis. So if Davis is getting all the catches and stuff, then that's really going to hurt Bryson. But if Diggs is getting all of them, that's really going to hurt Scales. He's got way better running backs, Scales does, and maybe better receivers. Dang, this is a tough one.
I know. It comes down to what happens in that Seattle-Arizona game. I think if it turns into a shootout and Geno puts up a big week,
it probably will, because Seattle's defense is very bad.
Yeah, I could see if that happens, I see Metcalf and Geno hooking up for a touchdown or two, and but on the other side, like you highlighted, San Fran, he's going all in on San Fran. Kamara looks good again. There's two things that I think this matchup's going to come down to. One is Geno against Arizona, and two is that Buffalo Kansas City game. And the last time they played, Gabe Davis caught 4 touchdowns. Diggs is going to get his regardless. The question is, does he find the end zone twice, or do they highlight Gabe Davis again? I think that comes down to what Spags ends up doing. And so I think that Spags is going to try to shut down Gabe Davis and make Josh Allen a dink and dunker, which I think is good for Diggs, because he'll end up, with one of those 13 target games and catching 10 or so passes.
Yeah,
but
for our listeners, who is Spags?
That would be Steve Spagnuolo, the defensive coordinator for the Chiefs.
Oh, okay, nice.
So,
I think I'm going to go Scales, just with the better running backs, and maybe Gabe Davis really takes the top off the KCD and gets some bombs. Even though I said the stat that Atlanta's defense keeps it close, I just like, if Garoppolo can get 15 points and one of those is Debo, I think the rest of his players will outplay Bryson. Although every time I look at Bryson's team, I just don't like his running backs, but the rest of his team is pretty good.
Yeah, I don't like Bryson's matchups this week. I mean, I like Diggs. It's going to be Geno and Diggs versus Scales squad, I think, on DK. I'm gonna go with Scales as well.
Nice. Okay.
In what I think is going to be a low-scoring, close game.
It's so crazy. I feel like almost every week, every matchup is very close. I feel like there's only been a couple that we said, "Oh, this is going to be a blowout," and then last week I said your matchup was going to be a blowout your way, and Scales ended up winning. So.
I know. I told you. I tried to make the argument. You guys wouldn't listen. So. All right. So we've covered 5th. Next, let's go to 6th place. So we're going to cover Mod versus Jack.
Mod is probably so happy he's 3-2, and he's getting Jonathan Taylor back. He probably could be 4-1, but Tom Brady has one of the best matchups this week against a bad Pitt defense, because they're out TJ Watt. I don't know if they're out anybody else, but the defense has been playing terrible. Devontae Smith has been kind of a new favorite target for Jalen. Sutton, he's all right. It's kind of hard to trust Russ in that offense, but getting Jonathan Taylor back, Benjamin just got all that money from Mays, spent $50 on his fab for him. He should be the running back this week, but I don't know. I mean, it's the one time to have the backup running back against Seattle. They've given up, I think, the most against. It says fifth most, but remember Jonathan or Jamal Williams went off on them. Kittle at Atlanta. Kittle hasn't really done much this season. They've already kind of evened out with Jack had a running back get 7 points. Mays had a flex guy get 6 points. I wouldn't play the KC defense. Hopefully Mays listens to this as he's taking care of his new daughter, and he's got to get a new defense. But I feel like Hunt has kind of taken a back seat to Chubb lately. Oh wow! I feel like every matchup has had opposing wide receivers on the same team.
Mm-hmm.
Jack has Brown, and then Mays has Devontae Smith. Lazard is Dobbs is catching up with Lazard, but I still think Lazard is one of the best wide receivers on Green Bay. It's all going to come down to Monday night for him with if he can get the Herbert to Williams connection. I think that's going to be money, and he has a great defensive matchup with. I think Minnesota is going to do pretty well against Skyler. I mean, Skyler they'll get some points, but it's not going to be like a shootout like it could have been with if Tua was the quarterback. So, pretty good play with Minnesota there. I don't know who I'll take, but let's hear your comments.
Yeah, I'll highlight. I think Herbert. Herbert versus Denver. Denver's got a decent defense. They don't give up a lot of points to quarterbacks, but and Mike Williams is going to see, I think, a lot of Patrick Surtain.
Mm-hmm.
So, in the Dallas matchup, I think AJ Brown's going to see a lot of Trevon Diggs.
Yeah.
For Mays, I think between Brady and getting Taylor back and Benjamin getting a real good matchup against Seattle. I like Mays' matchups, and I don't like Jack's matchups. So I'm going to go with Mays in this one.
Okay, I may put a contingency on this one that if Mays changes his defense, I may go Mays, but I actually think Denver lost one of their best corners. I think Denver's corners are really hurt. So I actually think Herbert has a pretty good matchup, but he has Brady, right?
Yeah.
But I think Brady has just a good matchup. If Brady was playing someone tougher like Dallas or something like that, or the Rams defense, I'd probably go Jack. But I think those quarterbacks are going to be a wash, and then I kind of like the rest of Mays' team. I mean, I can't believe I'm saying that, except for the defense. Change your defense, Mays.
Change your defense.
They're going to get slaughtered.
I don't think it's going to make a difference, but yeah, change your defense, Mays.
You think he's winning regardless?
I think he wins regardless.
Man, we had such high hopes for Jack, and then Hunt is the backup running back. I mean, he still gets plenty of playing time, but it's just he's kind of been touchdown dependent lately. He had a good game last week because he got a touchdown, but he's getting 10, 12 touches every week. So
yeah. So it's all right. Well, I'm going Mays. Who'd you go with?
I went with Mays as well.
Okay.
We've agreed on everyone except my matchup.
Okay, so we've covered. I think we've covered all the matchups, haven't we? Except for Nelson Taylor.
Yep, Nelson Taylor. Interesting fact: Taylor was the only one projected over 100 points, and he's at 109. So he's almost 11 points higher than the next highest projected team. So you got to feel good about that going into the week, but it's not a paper game. They got to perform on the field. So.
Well, and Nels already got 12 points from one of his running backs, so one of his 3 Robinsons. So the Swiss Family Robinson is already overperforming. But let's look at why Taylor is projected for 109. I I mean, you see Cousins and Jefferson. Jefferson's projected for 18 against Miami. I think their secondary is banged up, although he'll probably see Xavier Howard.
I think Howard's hurt too.
Yeah, I think he is. The one thing that could derail that game is if there's a lot of precipitation. But if conditions are decent, I can see the double dip here really paying off for Taylor. Fournette's got a great matchup against Pittsburgh. Stevenson.
He's now the guy with Harris surprisingly still hasn't been ruled out, but I think he's doubtful.
Yeah. And Cleveland gives up the third most fantasy points to running backs. So I could see this being Mac Jones might come back, but he might be less than 100%. So they really could ground and pound in this game. I don't know if Pitts is playing against San Fran, but I don't know that it's going to matter because he's got kind of three guys who are going to be toting the rock, plus Jefferson and potentially, smash spot potentially.
Rams defense is basically guaranteed an interception.
Or 8.
Yeah, or 8.
So
look at Nels's side.
Yeah, so Kyler's got good matchup against Seattle.
Mm-hmm.
CD's got a tough matchup. Kirk's got a tough matchup. So does I wanted to say Jeremiah Robinson Earl, but that's the Thunder. So James Robinson. Thunder. And Andrews has got a good matchup against the Giants, but Allen Robinson has hardly done anything so far this year. So Tampa Bay has a good matchup against Pittsburgh, but because Pittsburgh's going to be throwing a lot to try to stay in the game, and rookie signal caller who has small hands, I think you're looking at some interceptions there.
Was that the joke on Pickett that he had like smaller hands than Burrow?
Yeah, I think he has smaller hands than Goff. Goff is the other guy that's got.
Oh, was it Goff? I thought it was Burrow who had small hands.
No, I don't think Burrow does. I haven't heard that joke. But anyways,
who does he got on his bench that he could play instead of Allen Robinson II?
He could. He's got bye weeks.
Yeah, bye weeks affecting him.
He could start Mike Boone, which that might not be a bad play.
Dang, I didn't know Herbert got 75 yards.
Yeah. So,
yeah, actually, that run defense is pretty bad for the Chargers. I would definitely consider playing someone else besides Allen Robinson, but maybe he still has faith and this is his blow up game because you're right, he hasn't done anything, or maybe even Corey Davis.
Yeah, he's had one game above 10 points. Everything else has been 1, 0, or 2. So, yeah. So, anyways, I just don't think Nels has enough. I'm going to call this the blowout of the week, and I'm going to go with Taylor.
Yeah, Nels ran into some bad luck that right when he has Kyler have a great matchup. I mean, Cousins has a great one on the other side. If the Miami defense is banged up, and we liked his running backs, he's got 2 of the top receivers in the game. Although Chase, I think, has kind of been in a slump lately. It says he's the 4th wide receiver, but I've heard people on podcasts talking like he hasn't really broken out like he did last year. Maybe this is the game, but yeah, 22 been kind of stifled lately.
For weeks, so
I hope that keeps up because I'm playing against Burrow. But
Taylor has, he's sitting at 1-4, but he's got 3 solid running backs, with Walker being the guy now, and Stevenson being the guy, and Fournette's already, Lombardi Linney. Plus, he's got probably the best wide receiver duo in the league. So I think Taylor's going to make a run at a playoff spot from a 1-4 position. I really like this squad.
I do too. I think we've liked it for most of the year. Just hasn't. I think he's been going against tough matchups. Pretty unlucky. Maybe Bryson will go in to his stats. I mean, Nels definitely has the tight end matchup and maybe the quarterback just for that matchup, but I think Taylor's got him the rest of the way, and Taylor wins easy. So,
all right, man.
We agreed on everyone except ours
Yeah.
or my matchup is a coin flip. I could definitely see that one going either way.
Yeah. We'll see what happens. So it should be an exciting week. I'll be in Galveston, so I won't be able to. Well, I don't know if I'll be able to sit and watch everything, but I wish everyone luck except Shmee. I hope your team sucks.
You're not even gonna be able to watch the Chiefs game.
If I may, I'm. We'll see if it's broadcast down there. I don't know yet. It's the only CBS game that afternoon, but CBS does weird stuff and sometimes and doesn't like they'll show like NASCAR or something. So we'll see.
Probably the national game.
Yeah,
So
I hope
you'll
so.
be fine.
I hope so. I need
You
to
can
see
look.
that.
You can look at the broadcasting charts online.
Oh yeah, all right, I'll look it up. I'll double check. So,
Alrighty,
all right, man. Well, good luck this
that was
week.
fun.
And yeah, we'll talk next week. Good luck, everyone, except you, Shmi. See y'all.
Bye.